Hello, everyone. Welcome as you're just coming in here. So excited to have all of you. Let's see you turn on your cameras and say hi. I would love to see some smiling faces. And if you're not smiling, that tells me that something's sad or you're just not happy to be here for some reason. So I hope that's not true. Um, but I'm excited to have you here and hope we can have a great session tonight. Already got a good group coming in here. I'm sure there'll be some more that join us here in the next few minutes. But thanks to Mohammed and Joe for turning on your cameras. Love to see your faces. Give us a thumbs up, and others would love to see your face and and say hi. Give us a wave here. So excited to have you, Salah. We've been talking a little bit recently. Um, Jerry, Nicole, good to see you. Been a little while since we've chatted, but glad to have all of you here. Um, I'm excited for what we're going to be talking about tonight, and I hope it's as helpful as possible for you and some of the challenges and opportunities that you're dealing with these days. So we're going to get officially started with the content and everything in just a couple minutes as people are continuing to come in and connect here. Um, but just would love to know. I talked to all sorts of different types of engineers. Throw in the chat real quick. What sort of engineer are you? And what sort of industry do you work in? Work with a lot of mechanical software, some environmental and civil, and other types. Would love to see where you're at. So yeah, throw it in the chat. What kind of Shruti software, process engineering, automotive. Thanks, Mohammed. Um, what kind of engineer are you? Share with us in the chat. We'd love to see kind of the diversity that we've got here in terms of different times. Project manager, engineer, Nicole. Yeah, still involved in tech, of course. Electronics, manufacturing, and all sorts of other things. Um, Boise, good to see you again, my friend. Mechanical and aerospace. Amit, and in design engineering. Tom is an ME. So glad to see all of you here. So and Lewis, good to see you as well. And Daniel. So we're gonna get started here. And again, if you're just coming in, would love to see cameras on to say hi. But I also understand the realities of Zoom fatigue. Um, so, but no matter what, camera on or off, I hope you stay focused as we get started here. So, I'm going to go ahead and start get things rolling, and we will get officially started here. So, give me just a second, and I'm hoping that someone can do me a favor. Give me a thumbs up that you can see the slides that I'm sharing here. Boise's got the thumbs up. Joe and Mohammed, thanks so much. All right, so you know why you're here, what we signed up for. 4 keys to intentional engineering career transitions. Okay, and I use that word intentionally. Okay, because so many engineers, there are so many different directions you can take your career. And other technology professionals, but sometimes we get stuck in just kind of letting our career happen to us rather than purposefully moving through where we want to go in our career. So we use that word intentional. So and there's never been a better time in engineering and technology than to make a career change right now, because salaries are improving, opportunities are improving, innovations are blowing through all sorts of opportunities, and so it's a fabulous time right now to take advantage of this great market to see where you can go to reach your goals, both career-wise and perhaps financially and other things. So I want to give you all the tools we can to do that. And we're going to talk about a number of different, these 4 keys, and kind of build out the process to make that happen. So what we're going to do a few times today, just to kind of make sure we can engage here on Zoom and other things, we're going to do something I call a quick chat. And if anyone's been in one of my presentations, you've probably seen this before, but it's a way to engage a little bit here. What I'm going to do is I'll ask you a question, and then I want you to type your answer in the chat box, but don't press the enter key to actually input it until we do a countdown 3, 2, 1. What this allows us to have all of our responses come in simultaneously, so then you're not that weird one person who actually answers a question in the Zoom meeting everyone gets to do it at the same time, okay? So we're going to practice here as we get started, and I see new people are still joining us. But the question here is, where are you joining us from? Where are you at? I love to see people across the country and sometimes internationally in these sessions. So share where you're at, put it into the chat, but don't press enter until we do a countdown. So throw that in there, and then we'll do a countdown in 3, 2, 1, press enter. U.S. Seattle, Missouri, Salt Lake, Melbourne, Ogden, Utah, Chicago, Illinois, Ottawa, Canada, Texas, Portland, Houston, people all over. So it's exciting to see all this. So that's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that. If we haven't met, some of you I have and some of you I haven't, where we've connected in some other way. Founded More Than Engineering in 2019. My background, mechanical, software development, manufacturing, process improvement, and teaching engineering leadership. My technical background is in mechanical engineering, but also did some of those other areas as well. And then did an MBA a couple years ago. And for any podcast listeners, in partnership with the Engineering Management Institute, I get the opportunity to host the Engineering Career Coach podcast, which is free content that you can grab on any podcast platform or also on YouTube if you're interested in that. So here's my promise, okay, for what we're going to do today. What I want you to take is, by the end of this training, you will finally have clear actions and adjustments that you need to make that intentional career transitions or land a new job. If you're looking for something new or you're trying to change things up, I want you to have some actions to take away. So be looking for this, and not just like taking in the information, but look for those actions and those things that you can do differently. Because otherwise, what's the point? Why are we talking here unless you can learn all the strategies, but it only works if you do it. So I want you to take some action from today. And I'm going to teach you today what I call the next level engineering career formula and how you can apply it now and as soon as possible. And I hope that this is a different kind of webinar. Like, yes, I do have an opportunity to work with me more, but I hope that what we're going to talk about gives you value whether you decide to do some of that work with me or not. And it's not just like this magical button, you spend thousands of dollars and then suddenly all your dreams will come true. Like, I hope that you get value. That's my purpose here. And so some of the things that I get people asking me to teach all the time that we're going to be talking about today is like, how do we find career clarity, or like that North Star in their career with engineers who can do all sorts of different things. And like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. We'll talk about that a little bit. How to have a strategy that actually lands those interview opportunities that you're looking for. How to make the most of every opportunity that comes your way when you get an interview or you get job offers and you want to negotiate and make it the best you can. How to find people who can help you and mentor you along the way throughout your career. And so we'll talk about some of those things, but my invitation to you as we get into this is just to be present. Okay, engage with the group. You've committed to spending this hour or so with me. Put the cell phone away unless that's what you're using to tune into. But minimize or close other tabs or other things. Just actively participate. Invite you to take some notes and see what you discover. And again, look for those actions that you can take that are going to help take you where you want to go. Okay. So as we get started here, I want to introduce you to someone. This is my friend Ben. And when Ben and I first met, this is kind of where he was at. And I want to see how this relates with you and where you're at. Ben had gotten laid off due to a COVID concern. He was a experienced mechanical engineer. And he told me, I'm not getting any interview opportunities. And he was struggling. He said, I can't clearly communicate what I really want to do in my career. And feeling like in that state he was being left behind or kind of stuck. It's like, I know my peers are getting paid well. He was in the Seattle area where salaries were increasing, but he felt like he was being left behind even in his old job that he got laid off from. And he's like, I know I could do a great job. He knew he had the skills if someone would just give him that chance. And so I'm just curious what relates with you. So I'm going to do another quick chat here. Reminder, just type it in the chat box, but don't press enter till we do that countdown. So the question is, which of these statements of Ben's do you relate with? or perhaps something similar. So I'll go back there in just a second. But I want you to think about which of those statements or anything similar do you relate with Ben. So I'm going to look back here. Look at these. Are there any that you relate with? Throw that in the chat. If it's easier, just put the number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even though I didn't number them. But we're all smart engineers, and we can count to 5, I think. If that makes it easier for you. So throw in, or if there's another thing, let me know. Oh, Michael Kamek, good to see you here. Well, go ahead and put your answer in 3, 2, 1, go. So I'm seeing a lot of 2s, 5s. Yeah, so that can't clearly communicate what I want to do in my career is heavy. Lewis is also saying, Noah could do a great job if I get that chance. Another number 3 there, kind of feeling stuck, and someone else said that. So yeah, but 2 and 5 seem to be the most popular there. So that's interesting, and something I hope that we can address in some different ways today, and give you some things to think about. So I'm gonna scream through this, but like just want to kind of tell my story of how I discovered some of these things. As I told you, I got my mechanical engineering degree, and I was pretty good in school. Graduated magna cum laude, great student. Didn't have that many friends when I was in school. Okay, but and I was. And I had just this path that just sort of like led me to my first job after school. I got some TA jobs. I was a math TA, and then someone brought me in to be a physics TA, and then a friend from there brought me into a research lab, and then through there we had some connections to industry, and they're like, hey, we need a bunch of engineers, and like 8 of us that were working in that lab got interviewed for jobs, and 6 of us got job offers. And so just like things just sort of fell in my lap, and I was like, huh. But that first job out of school, even though it was an ME, it was actually doing software development. So I was like, okay, why not? Let's try this out and do some different things that was related to CAD design, some things for any MEs that are here. As I got started in it, it was like I had an okay, not a great salary, but I was in a really large company. There was a lot of bureaucracy, and I sort of already had this feeling like, hey, I'm pretty ambitious, but I was already feeling like my growth was limited. And as I got into it a year or two, I was like, realized that I didn't love writing software. And so I kind of got bored, like where I was writing code all day. That was just me. Okay. It wasn't a great fit. And so I started asking, like, what else is there? So I explored, and I did like some side hustles and entrepreneurship and some other things. But I did get to gain some skills during that process in product development, learn agile and scrum methodologies, and project management and other things. And I was looking at other things. I was looking at MBA programs and other things. But then I had an opportunity where someone that I knew well said, like, hey, we need someone like you in a new leadership role to develop some new products. And there's a mechanical piece and a software piece. And at first I was like, what, me? Like, why me? But I explored it and looked at it a little bit more closely. But again, it sort of fell in my lap, and I said, okay. And this turned into a nice raise. It meant a move that was closer to family, and it was a leadership position. I was like, okay, I guess this networking thing kind of works. And so I had this great experience. I learned a lot. I got on this new growth curve. Where before I was bored, I was learning new things, having new experiences in a smaller company. That was a different experience as well. But eventually I kind of got to that top of that growth curve again. And so I looked at, okay, what's the next thing that's going to infuse my career again? Do I pay for training? Do I go get education? I'd always kind of wanted to get an MBA. So I explored that again and actually ended up doing that. I was like, an MBA, that's the ticket. That's going to help me make my shift. And then it was a 2-year program. I was still working. It was a part-time, mostly online program. And 1 year into that, halfway through, I had some new friends, perspectives, insights, but I still didn't really know what I was going to do next. And so I was kind of in full plateau mode and felt stuck again. Even though I was getting some good reviews at work, I wasn't really going in the right direction that was taking me anywhere that I was excited about. Because remember, I'd just kind of been reactive and letting my career happen to me. And so again, at kind of this crossroads, like what's next? But now nothing was just coming. I needed to decide this. And so I I could have utilized my MBA and gotten a new job, but nothing that I was looking at seemed quite right. Um, and so I was looking at all sorts of things, utilizing a lot of different disparate ideas and tools to figure out what was next. And it took me a while to realize that what I really wanted to do and what I'd had some opportunities to do internally to my company and other opportunities was to help people, but also stay connected to my technical roots. So I kind of put all that together and gathered all the best resources that I possibly could from career professionals, leadership development, personal development, and others. And I just started helping people. We worked on things to build confidence and mindset, get clarity, network to new opportunities, and learn how to be and do things that are going to be excited about the future. And this is weird. I had some people that were like, "Wait, isn't this hard? And does that action really work to help you, land those career opportunities?" And the answer is yes, but it's possible. So let me just give you an example. One of the first people I had the opportunity to work with was Jay. And if anyone had a bunch of decks stacked against him, it was Jay. He was an international student. He had graduated with his master's degree in 2019, but he couldn't legally work in the United States for 8 months due to some visa issues. And then right as soon as he was authorized to work, this was February of 2020, and he started getting some interview opportunities. Then the pandemic hit, and all those roles, they said, okay, no, we got to put a pause on all this. All that got, taken out from underneath him. All the while he was dealing with crippling student loans that he needed to pay and trying to make ends meet for he and his wife, working minimum wage at a gas station. Okay, so a lot of things working against Jay. So it might be hard, and it was for Jay. But in the end, he was able to be successful. We worked together, and in the end, he actually got 3 job offers. He's now thriving. When we were working together, he had put together a vision board, and he had a dream car on there. And when I talked to him a few months ago, I was like, "Hey, did you ever buy that car?" He's like, "Yes, I did." And he bought his dream car. And 8 months into that position, he already got his first promotion. Not years down the road, just 8 months, and he's looking to head to even more great success. So that's an early career example. But say, yeah, it can be hard. But if Jay can do it, anyone can. So the question is that I have for you is are you ready? I'm going to now take you through this whole career formula that we talked about, the 4 keys, and how to do this. We're going to go fast. It's not a magic button, but I'm going to give you the whole system. So I want you to be ready to take notes. So are you ready? Let me know in the chat. Say, yes, I'm ready to go. I want to know that you're ready to go as we jump in here. I'm seeing people say, yes, this is excellent. So let's do it and talk about the next level engineering career formula, or the 4 keys. What we're going to do is we're going to build something up. Okay. We're going to build up a structure, and the base of every structure is the foundation, and that's true of a building, and also I believe in our career. So what we're going to do is build up this foundation, and there are a few different pieces that are in this foundation that we need to address as we start going through this process. A few different things. It's not all inclusive, but some of the main things that I found to be really helpful is making sure we address and identify and build positive mindsets, get clarity in our careers and where we need to go so we can focus our efforts, and also figure out what's our personal brand, how do we put together all the skills and experiences we've had and actually communicate. That's what a lot of people said earlier when we were looking at some of the things that Ben said. How do I clearly communicate what I can do? That's what personal branding is all about, okay? So think about, as you're moving through this process, what happens without a good foundation, okay? Maybe if you're building a house, it might look a little bit like this, that things just get, you build on an unstable foundation and things are going to get wobbly. But in career, these are some of the things that I've seen, is that people are driven by fear rather than driven by opportunity. They see any failures or setbacks as indicators that they aren't good enough, rather than just that they didn't do things quite right, or maybe that just someone else was better in one way or another, or more prepared. But they see that as a negative indicator on themselves, and so it hurts their self-worth. Sometimes on the clarity side, they're so scattered in what they're trying to do, they can't actually communicate their value in written or spoken form. So they don't really understand who they are and what they bring to the table and have a good idea of that personal brand. Maybe they've had some tough breaks and disappointments, but they take that personally and they think that they are somehow deficient. And what breaks my heart the most is they get frustrated and stop trying, okay? And they just sort of give up. So if anything here sounds familiar to you, I wouldn't be terribly surprised, but you're here also, which is showing me that you're willing to do some things differently. But if we go on the flip side, without a foundation, these things can happen. But what happens if we can build that solid foundation? Well, those strong mindsets can help us look at any challenges that we face as opportunities and new ways to grow, not indications that there's something wrong with us. We can have that clarity in where we're headed so we can really focus on the things that are most important to us. We're going to have confidence in the path, and you're going to have that personal brand that allows you to clearly communicate who you are, what you bring to the table, and the value that you have. And so some of the questions you'll have to ask to consider, okay, do I have the foundation set up? These are some things you can consider. Do I have the confidence to make this career shift? Are you confident you can do this? And this is critical because here's the thing. If you're trying to make this shift, you go into an interview, what the people who are interviewing you need to be confident that you're the right person for the job. If you're not confident about that, then it's going to be hard for you to convince them and get them to be confident about that, right? So you need to be confident in yourself. Have you asked yourself, like, what are the most important things to me, really, as I take this next step? Because I want to be intentional as I move through this career transition and move towards a new role. Sometimes we're wanting to make a change because we don't like where we're at right now, but we don't just want to move away from something we don't like. We want to move towards something that we do want. So do you know what that is that you're really trying to move towards? Have you identified what are those greatest skills, those strengths, and those passions that can provide that unique value to a potential employer, some of those personal branding elements, okay? And are you willing to do what it takes, perhaps do some things differently that might be out of your comfort zone and be different? And so, like, can you answer these questions confidently? If you can, that's great. Maybe you've got a great foundation. If not, maybe there's some strengthening we need or building up of that foundation that we need to work on. Okay. So here's just one example of some things that we can do from a mindset perspective. We could go deeper into all these things. We don't have time to do all of that tonight. But one of the shifts we can make on the mindset side is what's called the gap and the gain. Very often, we focus so much on the gap, and this is the gap between where we are now, our current level of results, and where we wish we were or where we want to get to. So for example, I've got a certain salary amount that I want in my career, or I want to be in this sort of role or something, and I'm not there yet, and so I'm just focusing on, there's this gap here. But an activity that I highly recommend you do, and I do this on a regular basis, is to spend some time focusing on the gain. The gains are the wins, the experiences, the growth, the good people that you recognize. And this is something that you can do in a journal, or you can type this out, just throw up a Google Doc or Microsoft Word, whatever you want to use, and just create a list here. And what I encourage you to do is look at a few different time scales for like 5 to 10 minutes each. Only write the gains, the wins, the progress you've made, and look at 3 different time scales last 30 days. So just look at like the month of January, perhaps, if you were doing this today. Look at the last 90 days, maybe the last quarter, and then look at the last year. So you could look at all of 2021. And I'll tell you, every time I do this, usually I do this when I'm kind of feeling low for some reason. I see myself focusing too much on the gap. And I'll tell you, most likely you're going to come away amazed at how far you've actually come, some of the things you've learned, some of the ways you've built your mindset, some of the changes you made. And certainly there's still going to be opportunities for more growth and possibilities, and that's okay. You can still identify that. You don't need to get stuck in that. Okay, so it's just one example of some of the mindset shifts. We can move from focusing so much on the negative and moving towards the positive and the opportunities here. And a very simple exercise that you could do perhaps after we're done here tonight and move the needle on your own mindset. Okay. All right. So the next stage. Okay. So we built up that foundation. We've identified some of those things. The next stage is to build an effective strategy. And this is where we have to do the right things in the right way. That's what strategy is all about. And some of the things when it comes to careers and getting new career opportunities that we need to make sure we're aware of and figure out is how to network and connect with people. What do we need to do on LinkedIn is a critical piece, and probably how I've connected with most of you. And what do you do there? And also your resume. This is often where people start when they think about career transitions, what they need to do. But consider, like, what happens without a strategy, right? Without a good strategy, what happens is you get inconclusive results, even if you are the right person. Okay, so I love this story from naval history. So this is a British Navy story I want to talk about here. So in the early 1800s, in naval strategy, the prevailing tactics were for two opposing fleets to stay in line with each other and just, launch broadsides at each other. So they'd come across in parallel. And what happened was it just usually meant that the biggest ships, or the most ships, the biggest armada, won. It didn't really matter how, even if you were better trained, it didn't matter that much. It just mattered who had more guns and more ships. Okay. But a British admiral named Horatio Nelson had a problem in this battle called the Battle of Trafalgar. Okay, the British fleet was outnumbered substantially by a combination of French and Spanish ships, because this was the time of Napoleon, and he had ordered them to disrupt Britain's commerce and prepare for an invasion. Okay, so Admiral Nelson's captains, the British Navy were the best trained, but unless he changed tactics, if he went with just the classic way, he was probably going to lose. And he knew that. So he needed to do things in a different way. And so what he did is he looked at how we could do things differently. He actually broke the British fleet into two columns, and instead of going in parallel, he drove them perpendicular to the Franco-Spanish fleet, kind of like what you can see in this photo. And he hit its line perpendicularly. And so the lead British ships had some increased risk, but he judged that the less trained Franco-Spanish gunners wouldn't be able to compensate and adjust for what he would be doing here, and he proved to be right. Okay, in this battle, the French and Spanish lost 22 ships. That was 2/3 of their fleet, and the British, led by Admiral Nelson, they lost none. Okay, so a good strategy, which is often different from the prevailing approach, ends up in better results than he would have had if he went the classic way. Okay, so it turns a challenge. So good strategy turns challenges into opportunities, allows you to think about how to do things differently than other people do, thus getting different and often better results, and gives you those tools to succeed. So I want to do another one of these quick chats and consider this question. What do you think, in terms of jobs, what do you think is the average number of job applications that are submitted for a corporate job posting? What do you think the answer to this? What's the number of the average number of resumes or applications that get submitted? So type it in the chat, what the number you think that is, and then we'll press enter in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, big differences. Anywhere from 19 to 1,000, 2,000, 999, very specific. There are 10,000 in some cases. And in some cases, all of these numbers could be true depending on the actual job role, okay? But the data says that on average, across all industries, each corporate job posting attracts 250 resumes, okay? So if we think about of these candidates, an average of 5 or so will get an interview, and only 1 gets the job. So that's a 2% chance of getting an interview if we're looking at these numbers, and a less than 0.5% chance of getting the job if all you're doing is applying and hoping that something works out. And that's if everything's equal. But of course, everything isn't equal. Like, it's not. And so, like, I mean, have you put in 250 applications for your next job? Like, do you even want to do that? I talk to people who've put in 2, 3, 400, 500 applications and they still haven't landed something. But it's not an approach that I would like to take. And so I consider this a bad strategy, is to just search LinkedIn and Indeed, spend hours and hours and apply. Sometimes people really think that that easy apply button on LinkedIn is magical. It's not, by the way. And then just hope for the best, okay? And maybe they might find a recruiter in a company they're interested in and say, hey, by the way, I applied to this job. I'd be excited to work with you. Let's talk. And but unsurprisingly, when they do that, they get very little response. And I don't think this is any of you, but I love the quote. It's attributed to Einstein. I don't know if he actually said it, but he said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, okay? And so if that's what you've been doing, or I see other people doing, I say, like, we got to change it up. We got to do something different, right? So if we're going to do something different, kind of like Admiral Nelson did, a good potential strategy is to leverage that foundation we set up. You to use your clarified personal brand to optimize what you have in your LinkedIn profile and your resume. Then focus on companies that are interesting to you to potentially work for, and that also align with your purpose and values, connected with your career clarity that is also in your foundation, okay? And then start to proactively reach out to individuals in those companies seeking for informational interviews to build relationships rather than just asking for a job, okay? And really work on building those relationships and gain advocates in those companies, which then I find leads to interviews and lands to that opportunity for you to refresh your career in an opportunity that truly suits you, okay? So this is kind of what a different approach to how we do things, rather than just throwing interviews, like what I call that spray and pray approach, and changing things up because we want to focus on the people. One of the things I believe wholeheartedly is it's people that hire people. So if we can focus on connecting with people, then we have those opportunities to get hired in a different and more effective way. Okay? So that's a different look at the strategy. So we built up the foundation and the strategy. The next piece is we're going to look at the execution. Okay, we get these opportunities, and then we need to interview well. So the strategy has led us to get the interview opportunities. And then if we get a job offer, we need to negotiate. Because the last thing you want to do is, when you get an interview opportunity, is waste that because you were unprepared. Like, maybe you come in and you don't know much about the company or the people that are going to be interviewing you or the requirements of the role. You don't want that to be you, okay? And you also don't want to come in prepared not being able to talk about some of the experiences you've had or know how to share your personal brand. Talk about that a little bit. The other thing you don't want to do is get a job offer and not even try and negotiate. I see this all the time, and I get disappointed by people because they're leaving money and opportunities on the table. And some people think like, oh yeah, that's going to help me. Like, I just want to get into the company and do great work, and that's all I care about, and I don't care much about money. Like, okay, sure. But actually, even in the eyes of the company, you're kind of undervaluing yourself, and it's going to limit your opportunities for growth in the future, because they're going to see you as that diminished person. Because, like it or not, people see salary tied to value to the company. Okay, so you're going to come in like being seen as a lower value employee. Okay, but in fact, research suggests that about 80% of even like seasoned executives, they often leave money on the table when in negotiation situations. So if you're an engineer who probably hasn't been trained much in negotiations, you probably do too. And over the course of your career, this can result in hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars over the course of your career. So don't let this be you, please. Like, please try and negotiate. And so what can we do on the other side? What does this mean? Well, when we can execute appropriately, we can make the most of every opportunity that comes our way in interviews or or job offers. You're not going to leave these experiences with feelings of regret, even if you don't get a job in the end. If you really were prepared well for the interview, you're not going to regret it, and you're just going to learn from that and do better the next time. And it's going to help you maximize this career transition into something that's not just good or okay, but as great as it can possibly be. So I want to tell you or just share another quick story about James. I've changed his name. He was an experienced civil engineer, a professional engineer certification, and he's someone who's pretty ambitious. He's got some big career goals, but he's in a company that he liked, but he didn't really see an accelerated growth path for some of the things that he wanted to do. So he also had another company reach out to him for an opportunity and share some excitement about utilizing some technologies that he'd gained some expertise in that he didn't really have that opportunity to grow with in his current company. And so he wanted to explore it. And he also recognized there was going to be a negotiation situation while also keeping his relationships intact at his current company that he would perhaps be leaving. So we worked together and adjusted his approach, just looking at this area. And we got down to some of those foundational things, like what was most important to him as he took this next step and also future in his career. And we were able to put all that together and also create a negotiation plan. So some of the questions that he had, the process he would go through, and some of the issues that were most important to him, and a way to uncover what was possible and important to the other company. And he went through multiple interactions with them, we did a dinner and other things. And in the end, he accepted a new offer with a higher growth trajectory and an over $20,000 raise. And that was really exciting for him. And we also, in order to keep his relationships intact, we planned out how to have that kind of I'm leaving discussion at his current job so he could leave well and keep those relationships intact. Because that was really important to him. He really valued those. Okay? So it's just one example of how we can look at even just the execution phase, but how it's still fed by the foundation elements so that we can be as effective as possible in getting the best possible result. Okay? All right. So we built out the main part of the pyramid in foundation, strategy, execution. But what's left? Well, what surrounds all of this is having the support to move through the process, not doing this alone. And I see this being important to find community, a community of other people who can help you through this process, and also getting some coaching and mentoring through this process. And I find that all of us need support as we're moving through changes, okay? Because here's the truth. Even though some engineers don't want to admit it, we're all social beings, okay? And even as technical professionals, and perhaps especially as technical professionals, we can kind of get stuck in our heads and get stuck in analysis paralysis. Like, where do I go? I don't know. I'm going to look at all the options and run all the data. But it's not something that can just be solved with data because these things change. And there are a lot of subjective things to it. And so getting that support, going through changes in a group where you're connected with others, it creates a shared experience. Okay, look at group projects or going through a shared experience in your studies and your education or other projects you've done in your career. That shared experience binds you to other people, and you learn a lot through that process rather than just doing something solo. And then you get that coaching and mentoring to make sure that if any roadblocks come, you don't stay stuck and you're able to break through those. And when it comes to like some of these personal and career transformations, some of the challenges that come away can be difficult, exhausting, and often emotionally draining. I see people just getting worn out by the process all the time. And I'm just a huge believer that really nothing in life should be done completely alone. We need to have the support of trusted people in our life, on our team to be successful. And career transformation and transition it's no different. It's just one of many, many changes that we make in life. But you also want to make sure that when you find a group or a mentor or a coach, you want to make sure that these people are the right people to help you, right? That they've successfully helped others navigate through similar challenges to you. They have personal experience perhaps in the industry you're in, have contacts that are going to be helpful, give you resources and time and attention to help you personally and make sure you don't stay stuck. On the flip side, you shouldn't be working with someone who's never done this before, have little experience in your industry or field or something related, and have a network that's less influential than your own, and it's simply someone who's just going to give you ideas and not actually help you implement. I've had those experiences personally, and it's not that helpful. Okay, so we need to get the support with a community. That can be the people in your life, the people you love, your spouse, partner, family, friends, community, whatever that is, but also get that coaching and mentoring to help you move through it. So look at the big picture here. We've built out this entire engineering career formula to take your career to the next level, where we start with a solid foundation. We build up and create an effective strategy to do things differently than everyone else, so we can stand out, to get more opportunities in that execution phase for interviews and negotiations, all supported by a community and coaching and mentorship that's going to help you. Okay, so, and I promise you, I've seen this over and over again. If you utilize this formula and these principles, things will accelerate for you. Okay, so I just want to ask, did I keep my promise that I shared at the beginning? I promised that you would have some clear actions and adjustments that you would need to make an intentional career transition or land a new job. Did I do that? I'm curious what you think. Throw it in the chat, yes or no. I really want to know as I continue to improve what I'm sharing on these things here. Okay, I'm seeing yeses across the board. So thank you. I'm glad that I did. And so the next question here is, like, are you all good from here? Do you have everything that you need? Well, perhaps yes and no. Like, you've got the main strategy, and you hopefully have identified some actions that you need to take. But perhaps you might need more. I mean, if we're talking about investing, Warren Buffett, one of the best investors out there, could explain investing in just one sentence, right? Like, buy low, sell high, and only invest in things you understand. But I understand that, and you probably do too, but I'm no independently wealthy investor because I invest in all the right things. But it's the details really that make all the difference in why Warren Buffett's able to do what he does. Okay, and so just the truth is that people who succeed are the ones who are committed to really finding all the answers that they need, even if things aren't going great, and even if they perhaps have to invest and pay for it. That's what I did in different ways, and that's what Jay did, and others that we've talked about here. So some of the things you might need to still figure out, some other questions you might still need to answer for yourself, like, hey, getting that clarity. What direction do you want to take your career in the next step? How do you show your personal brand and communicate things? A lot of people mentioned that was important. How do you craft that great resume and LinkedIn profile so you can show who you are and what you bring to the table? How do you get recruiters and hiring managers to actually talk to you? That can be difficult for many. How do you get more interview opportunities? How do you negotiate your offer? And where can you find the mentoring and support you need? And perhaps everything else that you don't know that you don't know. There's a lot there. Things continue to be uncovered. And so certainly you can go figure this out for yourself, or if you feel like that would be helpful, I'd be happy to help even more. I can show you even deeper the entire system that's helped many engineers like you get life-changing career upgrades. Just this last week, I had three of my clients land new opportunities at companies like Rivian and Meta or Facebook and United Healthcare, someone who works in the healthcare technology space. And they're all part of what's called the Engineering Career Accelerator Program. And so I'm just going to talk about this for a moment and then and kind of zoom through it and what that opportunity looks like. And at the end, I promise to leave some time for Q&A and any questions you have at the end, okay? So real quickly, what's inside here is a number of modules that will help you move through this whole process, essentially built out with this engineering career formula that we talked about today. Ways to solidify your mindset, make sure you're upgraded there, reframe those challenges, adjust how you see people that are going to be part of your journey, and continue to improve there. Get clarity on where you want to go. Identify the core things that are important to you. Make sure you can really unleash your potential. Figure out how to really optimize LinkedIn. Get those. I want to show you the low-hanging fruit and where you need to focus first. It's going to have the most impact for you. How to increase your connections and reach out to people. Okay. how to rock that resume. Make sure it's something that gets pulled out and really truly highlight your skills, which, by the way, is what recruiters actually care about. Like, what can you do that, do you have what it takes to do what they're trying to do? And also how to customize it for each job, so you're not just sending the exact same application or resume in every time. How to network like a pro. We talked about focusing on companies, not just job boards. How to reach out to people so you actually land those informational interviews, and build relationships, which is really what networking is all about. When you get to the interview, the execution phase, how do you build the personal confidence and have great body language? How do you do that research? And how do you really tell your story, who you are and what you bring to the table, that gets them visualizing you being successful? And then in the end, we also need to negotiate. You don't want to make that mistake of not negotiating, and we're going to help you walk step by step through the process. You get a lot of resources there. So all this training, and this is online, on-demand training that could take you far on its own. But I want to give you even more. So we talked about in the support side of things, a community. So we also, as part of the program, do weekly group coaching calls, where you can work together with others, like those who are here tonight, to move through your transformations. We do this on a weekly basis. It's Thursdays, about the same time, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. And the goal is to make sure you keep making progress and stay accountable to things you're working on, and also get perspectives from me and the other people in the group. We have an online community you get access to. And so it's hopefully a great fit for many engineers moving through this process, because there's video lessons, there's PDF guides, we get that weekly group coaching, there's that online community, you get unlimited email support from me. And I put the asterisk there just because if people are insane and send me an email overload, you're sending me 10 emails a day, I'm probably going to boot you out and send you on your way, because that's just a little bit crazy. But I help people all the time, and I want to give you the support that you need. So I hope that people will ask me for help and support so they can reach their goals. Just don't be crazy about it, right? And many people get that one-on-one support as well. And we've helped people get jobs at places like Amazon, Microsoft, Micron, Nike, Firefly Aerospace, Schneider Electric, Esri, Degreed, T-Mobile, Los Alamos National Labs, Lockheed, Daimler, Mercedes, as I said earlier, Rivian, Meta, Facebook, United Healthcare just this last week, and many others. And remember, Ben, we talked about earlier, who's going through all these struggles. This is what he said after the process. He actually ended up with 2 job offers, and one of them ended up to be working at one of his dream companies, which was Blue Origin, where he's now working and thriving. I just talked to him a few weeks ago. And he said, the curriculum and support that the program offers, tailored for engineers, found it extremely helpful landing interviews and job offers in a difficult and competitive market. And Ben's just one example, but he is representative of many people who have had some pretty life-changing results. So, because you're here, I want to share a limited availability opportunity for you, because the next 5 people that sign up and ask about it, and sign up for a program that includes one-on-one coaching, will get a $500 scholarship. And that's a significant portion of the program cost. And so this is a special opportunity. By the way, there's a couple other bonuses. I also include what I call the Hiring Insiders Vault. So a bunch of recruiters and HR folks and hiring managers, you get some exclusive interviews, kind of get that inside look at what it looks like. And also, if I can connect you with anyone, this is a few months ago, I'm now over 16,000 followers and connections on LinkedIn. So if I can connect you to anyone as part of my network, I'm happy to do that. Open doors, done this with many people, and it sometimes can make all the difference. Okay, so if this sounds good to you, and only if this sounds good to you, you've got a choice, right? It's physics. Okay. Think about this, like one of Newton's laws. Hey, objects at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. So if you feel like you're at rest in your career, like perhaps you're out of a job or feeling stuck, in a job that you feel isn't right, or you have limited progression opportunities, or you just know that where you're at isn't right and you know you need to make a change, but you're not sure how to do it, you can stay at rest, or perhaps this can be that outside force if you join the Engineering Career Accelerator program and accelerate your career now. So here's all you need to do. What I want you to do is go to this website, and we're going to talk, because I only want people to do this if this feels like the right fit for you. Okay, so go to morethan-engineering.com/schedule call. I'm going to get the link here and throw it in the chat to make it easier. The rest of this week is pretty busy, but I've got a lot of times open next week, and I want you to set some time up to talk with me so we can make sure this is a fit for you. You'll see availability, and it may be limited here, but we're going to discuss your unique challenges and your goals and see if we're a good fit. We're going to figure out the right package specifically for your needs. And like I said, fast action bonus, the next 5 people that sign up get this $500 scholarship, and that makes it much more affordable. Okay, so you'll want to do this quick, but there's only a limited number, and so I encourage you to act now and would love to talk with you. So at this point, we're going to kind of finish up here. You've watched the entire presentation, and you're still here because you want to transform your career. You know this is something you need help with. So I just encourage you to take advantage of the content, the bonuses, and the $500 scholarship, and let's do this. And just a final success principle here is to do what works, not what doesn't. You know, we talk about doing some things differently, and get some training and support. Even if it's not from me, I want you to find somewhere that's going to help you reach your goals. And so, and then also, like, there's going to be challenges and setbacks along the way, but I encourage you to persevere and keep moving towards what you want to become in your career and in your life. And I hope to help you to do that. So at this point, time for Q&A. Anything goes. Don't be shy. I want to hear it all. But so grateful that you are here and spent this time with me. So who's got questions? You can throw them in the chat, or you can use the Zoom thing and raise your hand, I believe. Or you can just unmute and start talking, and we can chat here. But I want to answer any questions that you have tonight while we're here. Thanks so much for being here. Muhammad, you got something?
Yes, I got a question, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, we talked about strategy and networking, and I feel like this is a pinpoint to a lot of people, not just myself. How do you access people? How do you approach them, whether it's on LinkedIn or, you know, through websites or whatever, if you can share any kind of strategy on that.
Yeah, so what I find is a lot of people lead with, hey, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me find a job? And what that does is it immediately asks you, or you're immediately asking the person to take time out of their day to help someone find a job that they don't even know anything about. Okay? And so what I talk about here when it comes to, and if anyone needs to leave, thanks for being here. I totally understand, and hope we can talk soon. But what I try and help people do is figure out how to approach networking and reaching out to people in a way that is attempting to build a relationship and really is leading with interest in that person. So instead of saying, hey, I applied for this job, can we talk about this? Say, you know, look at their LinkedIn profile or any other information you can find about them. Find whatever connections you might have to them, if they were in the same alma mater or they've done some really interesting things in their career that you're just really interested in, and you're going and just asking to learn about them and expressing interest in them, who they are as a person, not asking for anything other than perhaps a little bit of time. And still not everyone's going to say yes, but the people who are genuinely the people who like to help and appreciate you taking that really personalized approach are going to be willing to have those conversations. And I see this happen over and over again. If you can make some sort of connection, focus on the person rather than how they're going to help you get a job and lead with that. And we need to get deep into strategies and what sorts of networking messages you can say. And inside the program, I've got a bunch of examples of things you can do in different angles and ways to structure that. We just don't have the time to do that tonight, but hopefully that gets you a little bit further there. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, very good. I saw Boise's hand up, and then we got a couple questions in the chat here that we'll get to. So Boise, go ahead, and then I'll answer some chat questions.
Hey, Jeff, I've got kind of an odd question. We
Oh,
talked.
just what I would expect from you.
Yeah, that's me. So I'm going to retire in 2 years and be looking for a job then. That's the career transition I'm making.
Right.
So the question I've got is,
And you say retire, you're still looking for a job. You're just retiring from one company.
separating from the government
Mm-hmm.
and heading off finding a great retirement job kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but that's 2 years off.
Yep.
I'm starting this early. I want to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to spend money, right, in a targeted way, like your program, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Money and coach. If I'm going to invest in that, when is the best time for me to do that? Do I want to start now, or do I want to do it 6 months before I'm looking for a job?
Mm-hmm.
You know what's the best bang for my buck? And
Yeah.
And there may not be a great answer, but I'm just curious what you think.
Yeah, there's no perfect answer, and certainly you probably wouldn't need to like have the resume all spruced up today, because I mean you're gonna delay that 2 years because of retirement, and pension and other things. That's why you're waiting and not doing that right now. But some of the pieces that we talked about tonight, some of those foundational pieces, making sure you know where you want to go, career clarity, figuring out some of that personal brand, it may impact, first of all, other things you might do in your current government job and even in the next 2 years, and thinking about what other opportunities you might want to take, which may help you get where you want to go when you retire here. It also could help you understand who do you want to start networking with. Hey, that's an advantage that you have 2 years to start building relationships with people in other places that would get you excited, which for you would be in locations that are exciting for you, and doing work that you get excited about. So some of those things I'd say right away, you may not need to go through the entire process, but some of that, and maybe with the discount today, we might be able to just really focus on the foundational elements and how to get into the networking stuff, which is all going to be helpful for you now and in the future. And then you can get into the other more strategic things and how to actually land that job when you're maybe 6 months or so out. So is that helpful? Different perspectives there?
Sounds like you're leaning towards early.
Yes, at least for some of those things, the earlier you have clarity there, the better it's going to help you, manage what you do in your current job, and also do some of that networking and other things that are going to pay off later, instead of feeling like you're racing at the end and then hope that you have time to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and we can talk more offline if you want to talk about. And maybe we can even adjust from one of the standard things and something that is just the amount that you need. So we can talk offline if you want to.
I'll think about setting up a call and maybe we can talk about that. That's great. Okay. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. All right. Joe had a question. Would this advice apply as well to 1099 positions, so contract positions probably, as well as W-2? Yes, Joe, I see this happening with a lot of people, and some engineering jobs and companies are even starting people at 1099 and doing like contract to hire stuff, or sometimes they still go through a similar hiring process as far as connecting with recruiters and finding the right people. So often, yes, this does still apply. And Joe, it looks like you're retiring from government job as well, and maybe would just want the contract work after that because you have other things taken care of. Don't necessarily need to be in a W-2 position, and so do something different. So yeah, a lot of these things are still going to apply because you still want to know where you want to go, what's exciting to you as you take that next step, and beyond. So yes, a lot of this still applies. So anyway, any other questions that people have, you can throw them in the chat or again unmute if there's anything that I can help with tonight. Okay. But one more time, I'll just throw in the link to schedule a call. Limited availability the rest of this week, but again, the first 5 people get that discount, and that scholarship, we'll call it. I hope I get to talk with many of you here in the next few days and in the next week and make that decision. I'm excited to do this with you. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate your time, and I hope this was really helpful for you. This is fun for me to do and help people reach their goals. And wish you nothing but the best as you move forward. Thanks so much. Take care.
Hey, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Oh yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Hey, I was just going to see, do you want me to schedule something out, or is this something we could maybe start up via